you?
First you told me 5. I got to change it. Okay, so we put the people line. We'll put them later. I need my phone because they were changing.
It was on.
Good morning, everyone. May we please have your attention? We are honored to have you with us this morning, and we do understand that we are going to have a special opportunity today to do something that will be televised. Televised in the sense that we have a pool camera here, and as a result, the pool camera will broadcast to other stations in the area who may pick up on these messages, which is exceedingly important. We also have C-SPAN here today, so I think that this is a wonderful thing to know that what we do here today will be seen by others who can spread this message across the length and breadth of our community, and I would dare say across the length and breadth of our nation. So let's start with giving the press a big expression of appreciation. Would you join me, please? Thank you. We have many persons who will be sharing information. We have time limits that we have imposed upon people because we have many persons who will be speaking. So we're going to ask that you kindly adhere to the time limits that we've given to you so that we may have time for everyone to give a message. We will start, as I customarily start programs in the 9th Congressional District, with a Pledge of Allegiance. Our friends do not require that you say the Pledge of Allegiance. In fact, this is about knowing your rights. One of the rights that you have in this country is to say or not say the Pledge of Allegiance. You have every right to stand if you choose to. You have every right to remain seated. Or there are some people who would like to take a knee when the pledge is being recited. You have every right in this country, the United States of America, to participate or not participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. In fact, the greatness of America will not be measured by whether you stand and salute the flag, say the Pledge of Allegiance. The greatness of America will be measured by whether the Al Greens and the Sylvia Garcias, both of whom are members of Congress, whether they will defend your right not to say the Pledge of Allegiance, not to sing the national anthem. These are some of the very basic rights that you have in this country. So let's start now by allowing you to exercise your right to say or not say the Pledge of Allegiance. I will not look to see who sang the Pledge of Allegiance. You have a right not to be seen by me, okay? All right, those who would like to participate, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may claim your seats. Okay. I was corrected early on in the program. I have a great staff, and my staff is always there to make sure that I'm giving out correct information. I said C-SPAN earlier, and it is CNN that is here, not C-SPAN, CNN. So now, give CNN a big expression of appreciation. Thank you, President. Congress for being here with us. We greatly appreciate you. I'd like to start by simply saying to you, the rights that we will discuss are the rights that persons enjoy in the United States of America by virtue of the fact that we have a Constitution. Many of these rights that we enjoy are rights that are not self-enforcing. People have to have goodwill and a desire to have the Constitution become and be real in the lives of people. And if it's going to be real in your life, you have to have people like your Congresspeople, and like many of these people that we will introduce today, to help make sure your rights are properly enforced. This is especially true now, given that we have a president who seems to go to the extremes in terms of his behavior with reference to the rights of people. There are many people who now are very much concerned about simply walking outside after having seen a female approached by members of the government, agents of the government, who at some point lifted a mask over their faces and took the lady away. This is something that we don't expect to see in the United States of America. This is something that causes persons to have fear and to concern themselves with their safety because, quite frankly, if persons came up to me and they were in plain clothes and they decided that they would tell me that they're to take me away for some reason, and they started pulling up masks, I would become very much concerned. So we want to talk about these things in the sense of you have these rights, but you also have to understand that these rights, in my opinion, are being encroached upon. And as a result of this encroachment, we have to let you know what they are and be prepared to help defend your rights. It's not enough for us to just say, these are your rights. We members of Congress have to do what we can to defend your rights. I have rights, and the rights that I have are the rights that you have. I have the rights that are outlined on this green card. My name is Al Green. This card is something that evolved from what the Honorable Garcia produced initially. And this is a replica of what she produced. And because my name is Green, my card is green. Okay, so you will have a green card that will be passed out today. But these are my rights, but they're also the rights that belong to persons. These rights belong to people. And on the card, if you have your card, you will notice that I have a right not to open my door. I'm a lawyer and I was a judge of a justice small claims court. If a person comes to my door that I don't know, I'm not going to open my door. I have a right to indicate that I choose not to open my door. If the person says, well, I'm an officer of the law, I have a right to ask for identification. I'd like to see that you have proof that you are who you say you are. In this country, I have a right not to answer questions. If a person comes up to me and says, I'm an officer of the law and I'd like to ask you a few questions, I have a right not to answer questions. A person who has been arrested is given rights. You're told what your rights are. You're Mirandized. You're told what your Miranda rights are. Well, I as a person, not under arrest, have a right to say, well, I don't want to talk today. That's my right. And I will share this with you as a person who's a lawyer, been a part of the judiciary. If a member of the FBI came to me and said to me, I would like to ask you a few questions. Once he tells me he's an FBI agent, knowing that I'm innocent, haven't committed any crimes, I would refuse to speak. I'll tell you why. Because the FBI can arrest you at some point for lying. If you tell the FBI a lie that's related to this investigation that they may be conducting, then you may suffer some consequences associated with the justice system. So I I would not talk to an FBI agent. I'm not saying to you, hide or secret things. I'm saying to you that I'm not sure that I feel comfortable allowing another person to interpret what I have said such that it may not be what I thought I said or wanted to say, or in fact I did say. So I just wouldn't do it. Now, every person has a right to differ with me on what you say to people who are with law enforcement. But I'm very much concerned about the FBI asking me questions. You have a right not to sign things. If someone comes to your door and says that we'd like to have you sign this, giving us permission to come in, or sign for any reason, you don't have to sign it. There is no law that requires you to sign things. And you remember, you have a right to say to a person, you can show me your search warrant if you desire to enter my home. You don't have to allow people in. Usually the question will be put to you in this fashion. Is it okay for me to come in and look around? Or is it all right for me to just step inside and go into the kitchen and look around in your kitchen? You don't have to allow people to walk through your home without a proper warrant. You have every right to say no, and this applies to your automobile. It's not unusual for someone who stops you to say, is it okay for me to look in your trunk? Well, if you haven't committed a crime, and there's not reason for the person, probable cause, you don't have to say, yes, of course, you can look in my trunk. And even if you have, I'm not assuming that you have something that you're trying to hide. I just protect my rights. If an officer stopped me and said, I'd like to look in your trunk, I would say, well, you don't have the right to do that. I'm not going to agree with that. And I know that there's nothing there, but I still protect my rights. You have a right to leave. An officer who has not arrested you cannot unduly detain you. Just decide to hold you for reasons unrelated to any crime that you committed or they think you committed. They don't just have the right to hold you unless they have some probable cause or some reason. Detain you briefly, but not to just hold you indefinitely. And you have a right to show this card to an agent. Now, all of these things are in Spanish on the reverse side of the card, and someone will go through these things in Spanish in just a moment. But it's important for us to all understand that these rights that we enjoy are rights that we all have to enforce if we want to have them benefit all of us. And your being here today is a part, literally, of helping us to enforce our rights, because it all begins with knowing what our rights are. You have to know what they are, and we're going to enforce them. So I'm proud to have you here. I'm also proud to have some other people that I did not introduce that I need to introduce at this time before we get into a Q&A aspect of the program. We have members of law enforcement here with us. We believe that persons who come to meetings such as this should be protected. And to protect you, we have people who are members of the police department. And they're not here to intimidate anyone, but if someone should decide that you'd like to have questions, that you're speaking out of order, I know a little bit about speaking out of order. If you decide you want to speak out of order, then we are going to allow you to speak out of order. We are not going to suppress your saying some things that you might like to say, even if they're things that I don't like. You have every right, in my opinion, to express yourself. But we do have a time limit that we're imposing, and after you have exceeded the time, we will ask that you then surrender the floor to someone else. And if you do not, I know something about what happens to people who do not. If you do not, then we will ask the officers to kindly escort you away. Kindly. They will do it kindly. And I assure you, I know what kindly escorts can do and cannot do. There are many of you who are not familiar with what I'm saying, but your friends will tell you. Okay. Now, let me continue with might prefer that you not stay, but you would prefer to have us here. While you're being removed, if you insist on staying, and I'm asking the officers to do this as delicately as possible, but if you insist on staying and you decide that you will stay and allow others to speak, then we'll allow you to stay. I'm not interested in having people leave. I'm interested in everybody having a voice. So we want your voice to be heard. But at some point, if you continue, we will have to have the officers remove you. And as you are leaving, we will give you an ovation. We will thank you and allow you to make your departure. It is important for me to remind you that the elected officials who are here today are persons who have other venues that they have to get to. I try to respect their time because I'm often in events like this, and I enjoy having my time respected. So we're going to ask that you allow me to respect their time, give them an opportunity to make comments. Each person will have about 3 minutes. There's a clock at the rear of the room. It will start with 3 minutes. It's big enough for me to read, and my vision is not 20/20. So we assume that others can see it as well, but 3 minutes, and at the end of the 3 minutes, we'll ask that you kindly wrap up your statement, and wrap up before the 3 minutes if at all possible. The person that will speak next will have but 1 minute to speak. This is Congresswoman Garcia. Everybody else gets 3. She only gets 1 minute. It is a congressional 1 minute. And we in Congress enjoy the congressional 1 minute. I have been with her at events where she was hosting, and she has accorded me the congressional 1 minute. I think I probably spoke for about 20 or 30. Just kidding. But she won't be speaking 20 or 30 minutes, but she will have the courtesy of the congressional 1 minute. And I'm honored to ask her to come over, and I'm going to be honored to ask you to give her an expression of appreciation for what she does. What she does to help people who are not in a position to help themselves. The Honorable Sylvia Garcia, please give her a big hand.
Thank you, Congressman, and I'm going to tell you, this is one honest, hardworking, high integrity, deeply principled man who will speak up to defend your rights no matter what. Let's give him another round of applause. You know, he mentioned knowing what it was like to speak out of order. And I can tell you that I was proud to stand with him in the well during some of those procedures that were happening in the Congress. Because it's important, and I was reminded of that even more. I read an article, I think it was yesterday before yesterday, where someone summed it up and said that the White House needed to decide whether we were really going to have due process for all or due process for none. And sometimes I think that that's really what it's boiling down to. Because if you look at what's happened with the flights, whether they're going back to, where is it, Ecuador or to Guantanamo, you know, they'll do it at all costs. They're not worried about any procedures. They're sort of telling the courts, well, we know you issued an order, but it was an oral and it wasn't in writing. Oh, well, yes, but you did it, but you didn't do it. I mean, everything to say that they don't have to follow any due process. And due process really is, you know, it's a fancy word that lawyers use and former judges, and we're both former judges, we're both still lawyers. Just means that you have to have a chance to say your piece and say, well, no, I'm not a criminal. Well, no, I'm not a gang member. And to say, to confront what you're being accused of and to present the facts. It's fairness, right? That's what this country's about. Due process, your day in court, your chance to confront your accuser and say, this is my side of the story. So I think that the person who wrote that article is absolutely correct. We cannot have a country that is supposed to be about the rule of law, just ignore procedures, ignore law, and do whatever they want, because if you do that, then not only is it lawlessness and the old Wild West, it's also the first signs of anarchy and fascism and all the things that this country has been against. And this man has always stood up for your right to due process. So what we've seen now is just simply not right. It's un-American. It's something that should not be accepted. It started, yes, with the green cards or my red card. He's absolutely right. We're all doing this across the country to make sure that people know their rights. And I tell people that the bottom line is if they knock on your door, there's no law that says you have to open it unless they have a signed arrest warrant or search warrant by a judge, not an immigration, I think that, what do they call it, immigration detainers? You know, those are administrative procedures. They're not like the ones from the courthouse downtown. So if it's not an arrest warrant or a search warrant, you don't have to let them in. And for those people who say, oh, well, they're having all these rallies and things and telling people to resist arrest, we're not saying that. We're simply saying that you have rights under the Constitution, and he went through them all, and so I'll repeat it. But it's basic rights that every American and everyone who is residing in America has. And this is what we were concerned about, is just making sure that people knew their rights, because we do have a very, very real fear of deportation in our communities. I held a round table with small business owners just last week. One restaurant owner told me that people are not coming to the restaurant because they're afraid, and the workers aren't coming to work. So her revenues have dropped. She used to make about $3,000 a day. Now she's making, if she's lucky, $2,000 a day. And she's lucky if she can attend to people as quickly as she wants to, because she doesn't have the staff, because they're afraid too. We even had a person there who runs one of these companies that takes people on trips back to Mexico or to other parts of the country. And she was telling me that their bus trips have dropped round trip, because people are not buying tickets to go visit a family member and come back. They're buying a ticket to go and get out of Texas, because they know that they need to go to a state that perhaps is not as volatile and as hard on people because of their immigration status as Texas, that we get just too much attention. So they're going to states where there's work, but where there's less immigration activity, less enforcement, less ICE rates. So we're losing workers in that sense too. They're just leaving the state. They're afraid, they're leaving the state, so that means that companies are hurting. So we're also hearing about people with green cards, people in mixed status families, getting picked up by plainclothes officers. Imagine the fear, as the Congressman said, that you're just walking and somebody that looks like any one of you right here in the room, except they had masks on, stops you and picks you up. You don't know who that is. You don't know if you're being kidnapped. You don't know if you're a woman. Are you being picked up by the police or by a human trafficker? If you're a child, is it someone who's going to abuse you and take you away? I mean, it is just horrible. These things don't happen in our country, but now they are. So when we started this Know Your Rights work, it was really meant to just let people know what may happen when they come to your door. We never thought, and it's all been, y'all, just within the last month. That's how quickly this stuff has bubbled up. And you see how they defend everything on those fights. But it's nothing to be able to just suggest that they're doing something wrong. They're doing something unconstitutional. They're doing against every single value that we have in this country. And we need to make sure that we're continue to try to stop it. So it appears that also that ICE and some of these agencies are working on quotas. That's not good either. If I told you you're going to go pick cotton and you better pick 300 pounds a day, period. Well, there's an incentive for you to work your ass off, right? Forget those 300. Or if you're fishing, if you catch 50 fish, you're going to get a bonus. Or if you don't, then we're never going to let you fish anymore. Or, there used to be some discussion about whether or not some officers and some law enforcement agencies had quotas for issuing tickets. So then there was the accusation, well, they're out there writing tickets because they're working on quotas. Think about it. They have quotas every day, every officer of what they have to do, and monthly. And there's stories about how you-know-who in the White House gets really upset when they get the numbers of how many deportations, and he gets mad that he wants it done faster. So what does he do? He brings up an act that is only used in time of war to pick up people without due process. That's why they're doing this, because they want the numbers up. So my friends, we're not in a good state of affairs, and I wish I could tell you that we're going to fix it all tomorrow, because I'm sure you all are probably already thinking in your mind, well, what are you all doing about it? We want you all to work harder. Well, we are, and we continue to fight, and the fight is in the courts. And I'm pleased to tell you that our allies are working hard. They have filed, I don't know how many lawsuits. I think the last count was over 100. And we're winning many of them. Every day we hear from another federal court that what he's doing is wrong and they stop it. But the president, he loves to litigate. He did it personally with all his companies and everything that he was facing during his time. So all they're doing is appealing and appealing and appealing. So now he's mad at the judges if they disagree with him, and he's talking impeachment and he's talking about removing judges. So it's a vicious circle, but again, another sign of someone who wants no opposition and wants to just rule. I always said, if you all remember, during the impeachment trial when I was an impeachment manager, that he was a dictator wannabe. And he's almost there, you all. And we have to put a stop to it. So I want you to know that we will continue to fight. We'll continue the lawsuits because we're fighting for working families. We're fighting for our children. We're fighting for our veterans. We're fighting for our seniors. Because the cuts that he's doing, he distracts us with all these things because on the other side of the aisle, they were making cuts to Medicaid to a point that we've never seen in history before. They're making cuts to veterans programs. They've already fired, laid off, whatever word they use, about 6,000 veterans from federal jobs. Just this week, he tried to break all the contracts with the federal unions. These things are real and they're happening and they're chaotic and they're hurting families. And we will continue to fight for families. We will continue to fight to make sure that our prices go down, not only just for the eggs, but prescription drugs, for all the things that matter to people. We want to make sure that we protect your pocketbook and that Elon Musk and his friends don't increase what goes into their pocketbooks. So thank you all for being here, and thank you to all our elected officials and all the panelists. I look forward to a robust discussion, and let's keep the hope, and let's keep praying, and let's go to 2026 to making the kind of change that we need to keep our country the democracy that it is. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Just a bit of information before we next speaker. If you have reason to believe that you or someone in your family may be arrested at some point without notice to the rest of the family members, and you have children, you should make arrangements for your children. Make sure that your children will have someone to pick them up at school if you have reason to believe that you might not be able to do this. Make sure that they will have some place that they can stay if you have reason to believe that you may be separated from your children for some long period of time. If you are a person with tattoos, you should not be arrested because you have tattoos. However, I have heard by way of the news stories that people with tattoos are suspect. If they have tattoos that indicate certain things about your affiliations, your associations, then you may be arrested and you may be taken to some place where you won't have the opportunity to communicate with family members. Make sure that you have, if you have reason to believe that you may be arrested, that you have someone that you contact on a daily basis. Every day, at 7:30 a.m., I get a certain phone call. Prior to that, at 6:45, I get a certain phone call. If I don't answer those two calls, someone will start looking for me. And I don't have any reason to believe that I'm going to be taken away other than I have offended the president. I would ask you to, if you have reason, whatever that reason may be, I will not dare to speculate. But whatever it is, make sure that you have someone who will look for you immediately. Make sure that your children are taken care of. And make sure that you do all that you can to, before you need the services of a lawyer, get some sense of what that requires of you in terms of accessing a lawyer if you think that there may be reason for you to need a lawyer. There are pro bono legal services that are available. Pro bono means for the good of the public. So there are legal services that are available, and you should look into these things. You should probably have the phone number of a congressperson if you think there is reason for you to need a congressperson at some point. The number for my congressional office is 713, I'm repeating the number so that you'll have time to get your pens right. 713-383-9234. 713-383-9234. If for some reason you are a person who should be aided and assisted by a congressperson who is in another congressional district, then we will do what we can to connect you to your congressperson. But these are the kinds of things that you have to do in preparation for circumstances that you are of the opinion you should not have to deal with. But if they should become circumstances that you have to deal with, then you should be prepared. You also have the right to protest. I believe in protest. I think protest is what America was built on, to be quite candid with you. So you have a right to protest, but you also have to understand that when you protest, there are consequences. Sometimes, as John Lewis and I have been having our discussions, he would tell me, when you protest, you have to get in the way. You have to get in the way. And when you get in the way, then there may be consequences. And you have to be prepared to suffer the consequences. This doesn't mean that you have to agree with the consequences. You don't have to agree. But you do have to be prepared. So if you decide that you're going to protest, make sure that if you decide that you're going to protest in such a way as to get in the way, as John Lewis, Congressman, and I did when we were kneeling in the street and the police told us to move, and we did not, and then we were taken away. But we knew that this might happen. protest is about being disrupted, but in a peaceful way. What do I mean? You don't assault anyone, you don't damage any property, you don't make threats, you do it peacefully. And if there's someone among you, this is very important, who decides that he or she or they will protest in a way other than what is peaceful, here's what you must do. This is very important. I have been in protest movements. I've organized. Here's what you must do. You must be prepared the moment that happens to say these words, not with us. Separate that person from the protest movement immediately. Immediately. Not with us. This is so important. I want you to say it with me. Not with us. Tell the police, this person is not with us. This person is not a part of the peaceful protest movement. When CNN desires to interview, start your interview with, there were some people who were there who were not a part of the peaceful protest movement. Please don't allow the story to be about them. Here's what the story is about. Peaceful protest requires that you affirm that you are peacefully protesting and that those who would do dastardly deeds are not a part of your protest movement. With this said, I would like to now bring up a person who is known quite well for being involved in protest, a lawyer, litigator, member of the State House here in Texas, someone who has held a position as a city council person, and who holds a position of trust in the community. May I please ask that the Honorable Jolanda Jones come forward. She will not have a congressional 1 minute. She will have 3 minutes, and she is aware, as are all of the other persons. But give her another hand, please. The Honorable Jolanda Jones.
Thank you, Congressman. Good morning. My name is Jolanda Jones. I'm the state representative for House District 147. You are currently sitting in 147. You all should have a Know Your Constitutional Rights with the Police and ICE pamphlet that I gave you. It's in both English and Spanish. Y para ellos que hablan español, tienen un folleto y conoce tus derechos constitucionales frente a la policía y ICE. Por favor, léanlo y apréndanlo. ¿Me entiendes? So I don't have a lot of time. Let me just tell you some quick points. Generally speaking, never speak to the police. Nunca habla con la policía when they come, ever, because they think you did something, you need to speak with your lawyer. That's one of the first things you need to know. The second thing is if they ever show up at your house or a place that you're at, don't allow them in. Do not. Nunca abra la puerta. Nunca. Y también empieza a grabar pronto. So start recording fast. I'm speaking fast because the Congressman told me I got 3 minutes and I will not defy him. But if you look at the pamphlet, I talk about generally when they approach you in a house and when they approach you in a car. I actually have been given these Know Your Rights with the police trainings since 1997, just because I happen to be a criminal defense lawyer. I'm going to be working with Cesar, with Fiel, and we're going to do one where I actually have a presentation in English and in Spanish where you will be able to ask me questions about your constitutional rights and whether you are a U.S. citizen or not. So no tiene que saber ciudadano. Tienes esos derechos constitucionales. So you have these rights whether you're a U.S. citizen or whether you are not a U.S. citizen. And I am telling you, there's so many things I could talk about, but also be polite when the police approach you. Do not have an attitude. Do not. And as I said before, you need to speak with your lawyer first. Habla con su abogado primero, because you literally could be honestly mistaken when you speak to the police. And it is actually against the law to lie to the federal government, to FBI, CIA, DEA, whomever. and you don't want to get caught up catching a case because you were trying to be helpful. So, por la última vez, por favor, nunca habla como la policía o ICE, porque es muy, muy, muy peligroso. Y otra vez, mi nombre es Jolanda Jones. My name is Jolanda Jones. I'm the state representative for House District 147. Stay tuned. I will tell you when I'm having my more comprehensive Know Your Rights with the police training. And with that, I close with 3 seconds left.
Give her a bigger hand than that. She set a great example. Thank you, Representative. And yes, I'd be lucky to say this is her State House seat, district, if you will. We also have another member of the State House with us here today, State Representative Lauren Ashley Simpson, and she hails from State House seat number 146. 146. Would you give her a big hand, please, as she comes forward to exercise Simmons, not Simpson. Correct it again, Simmons. All right, come up, please. Give her a hand, please.
I will be very brief because I did not plan to speak. I'm just here to show support. I'm Lauren Ashley Simmons, State Representative in House District 146. I think my colleague in 147 did a great job of being very clear about how to conduct yourself with police. Because we are a part-time legislature, I do have a full-time job. I work with the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, which is a Black migrant-focused organization. And so we do Know Your Rights trainings and civic engagement. So I would love to talk more with you about some of the events that we have coming up. But again, I'm Lauren Ashley Simmons, Representative House District 146. Thank you.
Thank you. Give her another hand, please. Friends, we are now honored to have a lawyer par excellence, a person who holds public trust that requires that he use his vast legal skills, someone who has represented the county of Harris. I'm honored to ask now that the county's lawyer come forward, the Honorable Christian Menifee. Please come forward. Give him a hand, please.
Hey everybody, I'm Christian Menifee. I'm the Harris County Attorney. I want to start by saying a thank you to Congressman Al Green for the invite to be here today, and a thank you to Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and State Representative Jolanda Jones for the helpful information. I'm going to be incredibly brief. I got 3 points for you, but I'll start with, I'm the lawyer for the county. The county has more than 18,000 employees and more than 60 elected officials, and my job is to represent them, but it's also to represent you. And we've done so, and I want to tell you about 3 important things that I want you to pay attention to. First is, you all know that President Donald Trump has gone after birthright citizenship. This is a concept that has been entrenched in our society for more than 150 years, and President Trump is now saying that for certain immigrants, if they have children here on American soil, those kids are not citizens of the United States of America. There have been a number of lawsuits that were filed against him because of this, and Commissioner Garcia and I joined in on one of them, and a federal court has blocked that executive order, and it is now before the United States Supreme Court. They've asked for a briefing, and so this decision could come out soon, but right now the current status of that is it is not in legal effect. The second thing is, I want everybody to write this down. I want you, when you leave here, to Google Harris County Immigration Services. Harris County Immigration Services. The county right now provides a number of services to assist and protect immigrants for free. We provide naturalization assistance, in certain instances removal defense, and we have a legal fund that can help folks who are dealing with immigration issues if you meet certain thresholds. So that's Harris County Immigration Services. And then the final one is something I'm particularly proud of. I partnered with Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and we created the Enhanced Plus Harris County Library Card. There's so many people in our communities who don't have a form of valid identification. We created an enhanced library card system. It's been used in other places throughout the state, but if you Google the Harris County Enhanced Plus Library Card, you can see the requirements to be able to get a photo ID through the Harris County Library System, which grants you access to all of our libraries retirees across the county, as well as some other county facilities. Look, we all know that every single marginalized population in this country is under attack right now, but none more than our immigrant populations. So as long as I'm county attorney, we're going to continue to do the work to protect you each and every day. Check out those resources, and again, special thank you to Congressman Algren for putting this together. Thank you.
He was under the time limit. Give him another hand, please. I want to make a quick announcement. At the conclusion of this event, or actually at 11 o'clock, in another room across the hall, we will have our Passport Day information event, and it will afford people an opportunity to apply for passports. You don't have to have a long wait. You can apply for your global entry. If you travel out of the country quite a bit, you can apply for this program that will help you to move expeditiously through the entry process. So we invite you to stay for that if you think you may be in need of these services. It has been advertised, so there'll be people going in, I'm sure. Now, I'm honored to invite persons who are going to give us in greater detail much of what has been said to you this morning. These persons are persons who had a hands-on experience with much of what I have talked about. They have actually dealt with cases. They've actually litigated cases. They've actually helped people to come in and out of the country, gone across the border to bring people back into the country who have been removed from the country. So they're pretty important people. And their 3 minutes might be a little bit longer than the others, but we will ask that they try as best as they can. But because they'll be speaking in English and in Spanish, I think we'll have to make a special exception for them, given what they will be telling us. The first person, I'll call all of their names and then they'll come in the following order. The first person is a person who has been involved with human rights and human dignity since I have known him. And I say human rights because I don't like to limit people to a certain subset of society when they are dealing with the rights of people. And he is someone who has helped many persons who have found themselves in harm's way as a result of misunderstandings about their circumstance in this country. He came here himself as a person who was not documented, not of his own volition, but he did. And he is now an American citizen. I'm very proud of him because he has brought another citizen into the world. He has a young child that I'm hoping will move into my congressional district. I'm recruiting. But Cesar Espinosa is the executive director of FIAL, and he will tell you more about it. Give him a hand, please, and would you come up and tell him, please? Next, we have an attorney that I have worked with. In fact, we have two attorneys, and what I'm going to say about one, I will say about both. These are lawyers who will not allow the President of the United States to intimidate them. I marvel at how major law firms are now allowing the President to intimidate them. Well, I'm grateful that there are some who will not be intimidated. These two women are lawyers who have helped persons who have been out of the country and needed to return to the country. I have worked with them. I have gone with them out of the country. We have brought persons back. They're fearless. They're knowledgeable, and they care. The first of whom I speak is the Honorable Nemi Salim, and the second is the Honorable Sylvia Nitz. I want them both to come up, and would you give them a big expression of appreciation? Fearless warriors who will stand up for you against authorities that are trying to take advantage of you, and sometimes it does happen. And finally, we have someone today who is here with Amnesty International. This person deals with organizing and is going to share with us some thoughts about what it means to be in this country and be associated with another country and still have your rights respected here as well as abroad. This is the Honorable Jacqueline, and I believe the last name is McDuckin. Would you come up, please? Give her a hand, please. And I'm asking the Congresswoman to stay with us as long as she can. We may have other things she'll have to do, but we're asking her to stay with us as long as she can. And these persons are going to speak to you, I believe, in English and in Spanish. So please give them your undivided attention. This is an important part of the program. All of it's important, but this is important because, as I said, these are persons that have the hands-on experience. So we will start with Cesar, then we'll go to Nanny and Sylvia, and then Jacqueline. Thank you. Give them another hand.
Thank you. My name is Cesar Espinosa, and I'm Executive Director of FIEL. And I'm going to start in Spanish with a Spanish lesson. I try to look up what the word impeachment, what the translation for us is, and it's actually a really long translation in Spanish. It's proceso de denuncia congresional. So that's impeachment, and I want us to start off with that because a certain friend of ours has been talking a lot about impeachment, and we support whatever it takes to make sure that we get the justice that we deserve. My name is Cesar, and I am Executive Director of FIEL. We're working with families every single day who are undergoing this process. And it's been very trying times in the last month or so, or has it been 2 months? I don't know how much time it's been, but it's been a while, or it feels like an eternity. And what we've seen is people getting picked up left and right, getting picked up for minor things, or what the administration is calling collateral damage. So what collateral damage is that if immigration does come to your door and they are looking for somebody and you don't exercise your rights, and you open the door, they could come in and question everybody. So this is why it's so important for us to know our rights and for us to know how to exercise these rights. The other thing that I'm gravely concerned about is the fact that they're picking up people like me, people who are green card holders. And that's something that really worries us. So we encourage anybody who's a green card holder and who's eligible to become a citizen immediately. And to look for help. There's help out there, like the county attorney mentioned, for folks to be able to get assistance in becoming U.S. citizens. And so it's really, really important right now. We're very trying times, but it's also important for us to talk to one another. A lot of the times, immigrants suffer in silence, and they don't know that there's an entire community out there that can support them. One of the things that we have seen that's been very inspiring lately is the amount of people that have stepped up and have wanted to do know your rights trainings and these kinds of spaces to be able to share with one another what's happening. I want to give a shout out to Fina. She's in the crowd. We just had in Pasadena, out of all places, we had a packed house the other day of people wanting to come out and wanting to know their rights. And I do want to take a moment of personal privilege and say that this is the 52nd Know Your Rights training that we've done since January 20th. And we have but it gets better, because the other side of my team is in Spring, Texas right now doing number 53. So we are everywhere, but it also speaks to the need of what we have in our community. So rapidito, es importante que la gente conozca sus derechos, es importante que sepamos cómo ejercer nuestros derechos. Ahorita la administración está hablando mucho de daños colaterales, o sea, que entran a casas y se llevan a personas que a lo mejor no tienen nada que ver con inmigración, pero si uno no conoce sus derechos, se los pueden llevar a ellos también. So, es importante que sepamos cómo ejercer nuestros derechos y que apoyemos a personas como el congresista Green, como la congresista Sylvia Garcia, en todos los que están haciendo ellos para asegurar que nosotros tengamos todavía derechos. And lastly, I did want to give you a special. I already told you this the last time I saw you, but I wanted to thank him because oftentimes we don't thank people like Congressman Al Green for all they do, and he'll tell you it's not a tough job. I mean, it's not an easy job. It's a very tough job. So I want to give him an expression of appreciation, as he says. And I want to personally thank him because I've been known to exercise my rights in some spaces and be excused from rooms. And my wife hates it. I'm actually not allowed right now because 3 years I can't get arrested because then I can't become a citizen. But anyway, but when I saw my hero, one of my heroes, Congressman Al Green, on screen, I had to text my wife and I told her in these words. I was like, "You see, I can do it too." And so now every time she gets mad at me for standing up and speaking and using my right to free speech, I will say, just remember Congressman Al Green. And so thank you for that, and thank you for having this, and thank you all for being here. The best thing you can do is get the information today and share it with your friends and your neighbors, please. A lot of people are afraid to come to these things because they fear many things, and so please, be that beacon of hope and share it with your neighbors. Thank you so much.
Good morning, my name is Salem. I'm an immigration attorney, and I would like to thank, first of all, Congressman Green for the invitation, and thank you for everything that you do for defending us. You have made us proud, and you certainly give us hope. Thank you for that. And thank you, Congresswoman Sylvia, for everything that you do as well. I was given the important task to talk to you regarding citizenship. And as Cesar mentioned, you need to become a citizen. If you are eligible, if you're a resident, you need to know that your residency can be taken away. So it's very important, more than ever, that you become a citizen. And I'm going to talk to you regarding the requirements. I'm going to read them because I think that would be faster. What I missed? Well, I cannot find it. So I will let you know that you need to be 18 years old, at least 18 years old. You need physical presence in the United States, at least 6 months in the last, it depends. You need to be a resident for 3 or 5 years. 5 years, everybody else, if you're not married to a U.S. citizen. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, it's only 3 years of physical presence and good moral character. What good moral character means is don't be arrested. Like Cesar said, he's trying not to get arrested for 3 years to be able to become a citizen. So that's very important. No arrest, no convictions. Make sure. So you have good moral character, physical presence. You need to pass a test. You need to prove that you know English and that you know civics. A lot of people come to my office and say, I am afraid to take the test. My English is not that good. You don't have to be completely bilingual to pass this test. They are going to give you 100 questions that you need to learn, and from those 100 questions, they are only going to ask you 10, and you only need to know 6 to pass. So that's not that difficult. So I encourage you to don't be afraid, study the test. If you apply now, it's taking about 6 months to get your interview, and you have 6 months to learn those questions. So as long as you know those questions, you're gonna be fine. So I encourage you to to do it as soon as possible. Es muy importante que se hagan ciudadanos americanos si ustedes son residentes permanentes y tienen el tiempo que se necesita. Tienen que tener 18 años, al menos 18 años para solicitar el examen. Tienen que tener 3 años con su residencia permanente o 5 años. 3 años si están casados con un ciudadano americano o 5 años si obtuvieron su residencia de cualquier otra manera. Tienen que tener buen carácter moral. Lo que significa tener buen carácter moral es que no hayan cometido ningún delito, tampoco hayan tenido algún arresto y tampoco que estén en probatoria. Tienen que haber cumplido, si les dieron alguna sentencia, por ejemplo, de probatoria, que ya la hayan cumplido. Aparte de esto, tienen que pasar un examen de historia y también demostrar que saben hablar inglés. Pero como les estaba diciendo, no tienen que saber hablar inglés como una persona que es de Estados Unidos, simplemente poder contestar las preguntas que les hacen bastante básicas, como su nombre, dirección, y les van a hacer algunas preguntas que ustedes, si leen esa solicitud, que se llama la solicitud N400, van a saber lo que tienen que contestar. También tienen que aprenderse 100 preguntas. De esas 100 preguntas solamente les van a hacer 10 preguntas y de esas 10 solo tienen que contestar bien 6. Así que no es difícil, simplemente hay que ponerse a estudiar. Yo les recomiendo a todos que tan pronto tengan esa oportunidad de que sean elegibles para hacerse ciudadanos, lo hagan, porque las residencias permanentes sí se las pueden quitar por muchas razones. Puede ser porque cometieron un delito, puede ser porque se quedaron fuera del país por mucho tiempo. Si se hacen ciudadanos, aunque cometan el delito, pues solamente le tienen que pagar al Estado, pero no tienen que tener el miedo de ser deportados. Así que esa es mi parte por ahora, creo que estoy en tiempo. Thank you all.
Good morning, my name is Sylvia Means. Thank you, Congressman Green, for organizing this and for everything you do to fight for all our rights. So I'm going to talk to you about all your rights if you're detained, if you're arrested, and how to deal if you're arrested and detained by immigration. So we all have the green card or the red card from Congresswoman Garcia. I will just add to this that if you are detained by the police, your obligation in Texas is to ID yourself by giving your name and your date of birth. If you don't have Texas driver license or ID, the Harris County has this amazing enhanced plus Harris County library card that you can use to identify yourself. And many times it's better to have that card than your passport or your matricula consular, because if you show your passport or your matricula consular, you're already giving the officer the knowledge that you are not here in the United States and that legally, or that you don't have, that you are a foreign-born person. So it's important not to keep that. You don't have the obligation to tell the officer about your immigration status. It's important to remain quiet. And you also have the right to ask if you are being arrested. If you're being arrested, you have the right to remain silent, and you can request an attorney to be present with you. Now, we have to remember that immigration law, a violation of immigration law is a civil violation, so you don't get a free lawyer to represent you. You have the right to have a lawyer, but you have to have that lawyer paid for, or if you qualify, there are many pro bono services or many non-profits that help without any fee to you, or you can contact the Harris County Immigrant Services to see if you qualify for help. If not, you need to hire somebody to represent you. Now, what is important to know? It is important to know that even if you are detained, even if immigration takes you, you have the right to file that removal. Not everything is lost just because you are taken to immigration detention. Once you are detained, it takes like 48 hours to book you. Once they book you, you will have the right to call your family member. The most important thing that you can give, the most important information you can give to your family member is your alien number, which is 8 or 9 digits that is in your bracelet. With that alien number, your family can contact an attorney, and the attorney can locate you and file a request for a bond hearing. Immigration judges are giving bonds. Of course, you have to show that you are not a flight risk, that you are not a danger to the community, and that you have ties to the community. Once you can show that, then the immigration judge will grant bail. Usually is, well, under the law, it should be no less than $1,500, but it has been many years that I don't see a bond for $1,500. Last week, I got bonds for $5,000, $10,000. Now, those bonds you can pay, you have to place with ICE, and you pay in cash, money order, or cashier check, and then the government will give them back once the case is over. Once you are released from bond, you can file your immigration deportation case. And how do you file it? Many times you have options, right? Because if you have been here for many years, you might qualify for cancellation of removal, which is you show that you've been here for 10 years or more, that you have good moral character, and that you have family members who are U.S. citizens or residents who will suffer extremely if you leave. But if you don't have the option of cancellation of removal, there might be other options that you qualify. Even though the president is trying to limit the immigration reliefs available for immigrants, those reliefs are done through the Congress, so he cannot just remove them on his own. Now, it's important to note also that even if you are a lawful permanent resident and immigration detains you, you have the right to fight for your lawful permanent resident card to be given back to you. Don't sign anything. The only one that can take your lawful permanent resident card away from you is an immigration judge after you have due process and you are here. So make sure you don't sign anything. And the last thing I'm going to say is, yes, you need to be prepared, right? And you need to be ready in case something happens. How do you prepare? If you have kids, make sure you make them citizens of the country you are from. Make sure they have dual citizenship. Why is this important? Because if you are detained and you don't have anybody to help you with dealing with your kids, your consulate, the consulate from the country you are from, can help you, and they can take care of the kids and making sure they are sent back to your country if you have to go. But the only way they can help with the kids is if they are citizens of that country. So it's important to make sure your kids are dual citizens. And then you have to have an emergency plan. Who is going to pick them up from school? Who is going to take care of them? Make sure they have a passport so that they can leave and go to your country with you if you have to leave. Now, since now there is the expedited removal, usually expedited removal has always been in the law, but usually has been in use or implemented at the border. When you are at least 100 miles from the border and you've been in the United States for 15 days. But now President Trump expanded the expedited removal, and now anybody who is in the United States for 2 years or less, it doesn't matter where they are, they qualify to be removed immediately, or the expedited removal. That means without due process. So it's important if you've been here for more than 2 years that you have evidence that you've been here. Now with technology, you can scan documents and have them in your phone so that if you need to show them once you are detained, you can. Para mí es un gusto estar con ustedes. Mi nombre es Silvia Mins y voy a hablar acerca de saber qué es lo que tienen que hacer si son detenidos o si están en manos de migración. Lo más importante es, por supuesto, acerca de sus derechos, ya está aquí en la tarjeta. Lo único que voy a agregar es de que si un policía los para, tienen derecho a permanecer callados y la única obligación que tienen es identificarse y se identifican dando su nombre y su fecha de nacimiento. Es buena idea tener una identificación con ustedes y esa puede ser la tarjeta de la biblioteca del condado de Harris, que ahora se modificó para que sea aceptada por las autoridades también. Y la razón por la que es buena idea tener la tarjeta de la biblioteca es porque así usted no le da la oportunidad al oficial de saber que usted es de otro país afuera de Estados Unidos. Ahora, usted tiene derecho a preguntar si está siendo arrestado. Si lo arrestan, tiene derecho a permanecer callado y a pedir que esté un abogado presente. Bajo la ley migratoria, usted no tiene derecho a un abogado gratuito, porque una violación migratoria en general es una violación civil. Entonces usted tiene derecho a contratar a un abogado que lo represente. Es importante saber que aunque lo detenga migración, no se terminó todo ahí. Usted puede pelear su deportación. Entonces, se tarda como 48 horas el tiempo en el que le hacen todo el chequeo en el centro de detención de migración, y después le van a dar una llamada. Cuando usted llame, la información más importante que tiene que dar son los 8 o 9 números en su brazalete que empiezan con una A, y con eso cualquier abogado puede encontrarlo y poner una moción para fianza. Para poder calificar para una fianza tiene que enseñar que usted no es riesgo de que va a huir, que no es riesgo para la comunidad y que tiene lazos en la comunidad. Después de que prueba eso, el juez le puede dar una fianza. Bajo la ley, lo menos que le pueden dar de fianza son $1,500, pero pues hace mucho tiempo que yo no he visto una fianza de esas. La semana pasada me dieron entre $5,000 y $10,000 las fianzas que pedí. Después de que sale bajo fianza, puede pelear su caso en la Corte de Migración. Muchas personas tienen opciones de alivios migratorios y cada caso es diferente. Es buena idea que ya cuando esté en ese momento se asesore con su abogado para ver qué opciones tiene. Si usted es residente y le tratan de quitar su tarjeta de residencia, no vaya a firmar ningún documento. El único que le puede quitar su tarjeta de residencia es un juez de migración, después que usted tiene una audiencia y que cumplen con el debido proceso. Así es que es muy importante no dejar que ellos le quiten su tarjeta de residencia sin pelear. Y por supuesto que tenemos que prepararnos en caso que vayamos a ser detenidos. ¿Cómo nos preparamos? Si tiene hijos que son ciudadanos americanos, asegúrese que los hace ciudadanos de su país de origen. Es importante que los niños tengan la doble ciudadanía, porque si usted es detenido y fuera removido de Estados Unidos, el consulado de su país puede ayudar a trasladar a sus hijos a su país si es doble ciudadano. Si el niño no es ciudadano del país de origen, entonces no los pueden ayudar. Y por supuesto tienen que tener un plan de quién va a recoger a los niños en la escuela y cómo los van a enviar a su país. También tiene que poder enseñar que ha estado en Estados Unidos por lo menos 2 años, porque hay una ley que se llama la remoción inmediata. Y antes siempre se ha usado que es para aplicar a todas las personas que estaban en Estados Unidos por lo menos 15 días y que están a más o menos 100 millas de la frontera. Pero ahora el presidente lo cambió y aplica para las personas que están en cualquier lugar en el país, siempre y cuando hayan entrado hace 2 años o menos. Entonces es buena idea escanear documentos que enseñen de su presencia física continua y los tengan en su teléfono. Pues ahora con la tecnología es muy fácil. Y lo más importante, no hablar más de lo que deben, solo contestar lo que le preguntan y asesorarse. Y también no perder fe. Muchas gracias.
Good morning. My name is Jacqueline. I am with the Texas Task Force for Refugee and Migrant Rights with Amnesty International. I'd like to begin by thanking Congressman Al Green so much and your team for allowing us to be here, and of course my fellow panelists for all of your expertise and assistance. To begin, the Texas Task Force for Refugee and Migrant Rights is a grassroots organization. We're made up of volunteers who primarily in the last 2 months have done Know Your Rights events like this, trying to inform our community. But moving forward, and most recently, we've been doing some lobbying. So we're meeting with our members of Congress and putting pressure on them to support or to oppose harmful legislation. We also do testimony training. So if you think about legislation that's on the House or the Senate floor, we are preparing our team to go and speak for or against. And what I'd like to say is, as Cesar mentioned, it's incredibly important to inform yourself and to talk to your neighbors and your friends, right? But what I'd add is that in addition to that, it's incredibly important to activate, right? We can't just know what our rights are, we actually have to defend them. And so I'm here to offer a home for you to come and join if you want to get active and energize, right? We have to resist. So I'm here to help mobilize and organize, and if you're looking for some way to get activated, so we can go and do protests, we can do direct actions, we can do rallies. There's a lot of movement happening at detention centers here in Texas that we want to protest. So we welcome you and we invite you to come and chat with me afterwards, and I can tell you more information. Muy buenos días, yo me llamo Jacqueline, estoy con el grupo de trabajo de Amnistía International. Somos un grupo de voluntarios en el cual estamos abogando por los refugiados y los asilios inmigrantes. Y trabajamos en, ¿cómo se dice?, lobbying y en proteger los derechos humanos y derechos de los constitucionales de los inmigrantes. Además de informarse sobre sus derechos y los de sus comunidades, también es necesario organizarse y energizarse y resistir los policías de las leyes tan dañosas. Si ustedes tienen más preguntas o le puedo ayudar en algo más, no hesitar de hablar conmigo después y yo puedo enseñarle cómo ayudar. Mil gracias y que estén bien. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cesar, I'm so sorry that I promoted you to citizenship ahead of time, but I'll be there to help you, okay? All right. Give Cesar another hand, please. And all of our panelists, please. We have a great state representative who is here. As I indicated to you earlier, our elected officials are moving about Saturdays are work days for them, as is the case with Sundays and holidays. So we try to get them in and out as quickly as possible. So before we go to our Q&A, I'm going to ask that State Representative Christina Morales come up. She is from District 145. Is your district? 145. All right. Give her another hand for me, please.
What an honor to be here, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. My name is Christina Morales, District 145, and I'm so grateful to Representative Green. I saw Representative Garcia here earlier to be able to provide this important information. As a community that we represent, the most vulnerable community is being attacked. I mean, there's no other way to put it, and we do need to share the information, and I'm so grateful for the people who have spoken before I came up here. They're very knowledgeable and experts in their field, so I hope that you learned something today. I can tell you that my family history in the city of Houston, and I see one of my friends who has a long family history too, the Lorenzo family, but our businesses grew because of immigrant community and Spanish speakers alike, and it's really sad to see how this community is being attacked and how this is going to hurt our economy. I know this because our businesses have thrived because of people who bring so much to everybody's community. So, mi nombre es Cristina Morales, soy representante estatal del Distrito 145. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes y quiero agradecer al representante Green, vi también al representante Garcia y nomás quería decir que nuestro negocio de mi familia teníamos una difusora y también una funeraria y siempre ayudamos a los inmigrantes que hablaban español y nuestros negocios crecieron porque esta comunidad nos ayudó bastante y es algo muy triste lo que está pasando aquí ahorita en Estados Unidos. Yo sé que Houston tiene la economía tan bonita porque los inmigrantes vinieron aquí y no solamente los que hablan español, pero de diferentes países. I just said that, in Spanish that Houston is the bustling economy that it is because of immigrants. Not only Spanish-speaking immigrants, but immigrants from all over the world who have come here because we have a thriving economy and we have a wonderful health medical center and oil and gas. So many people have come here and contributed to the growth of our city, of our economy, not only in this city, but in the entire state. And it's really hard to watch people be terrified in their own communities. But know that you have a safe space in my office and also in Representative Green's office. And again, just very thankful. Thank you.
Friends, we are now about to take questions, and we have persons who will give you the best answers available to them. We ask that you would please confine your questions to the topic before us. And if you have additional questions, I have staff that will assist you. If you have a specific question related to your personal circumstance, you don't have to explain your business before the world. You just let us know. We have what we call privacy release forms, what will give us the opportunity to assist you with your concern. So please, if you have a specific question related to your personal business, let us help you by virtue of receiving that information in writing. And we get it in writing because we want to make sure that what we report to the people that we will ask questions of about your circumstance, that we report it as you would have it be reported. So your writing, quite frankly, is what we often will use to show people what you say your concern is. Please, if you can, limit your questions to the topic at hand today. And finally, when you are allowed to ask your questions, we will not surrender the microphone. You may ask your question, but I'm instructing Carl, who will have the microphone. Please do not pass the microphone. And if ever you're doing this, never give up the mic. All right. Now, final thing with reference to the Q&A is this. The persons here, if you would like to have a specific person answer your question, then you may address it to a specific person. You can include me, but I consider them, quite candidly speaking, the authorities because they have the hands-on experience with most of these things. But I'll take a stab at a question if you have one that you have me answer. We proceed by having you raise your hands, and we will give you a number. Now you have to remember your number. We will give you a number, and we will go from 1 through whatever the numbers are. We will try to finish, as I indicated, by 11 o'clock. But if I have to stay longer, then I'll have to stay longer. So please, if you would kindly extend your hands into the air, I will give you your number, and someone will, Crystal is here. You have numbers, Crystal? All right, hands in the air. We'll start over here, Crystal, with this lady. Would you stand, please? Everybody that is going to ask a question, please stand. If you would, please stand. Okay. All right, and you'll be given a number. And as the numbers are being passed out, we will start with the first question. Please remain standing, if you would, until you receive your number. Once you receive your number, you may be seated, except for the person who's number 1, because you will now be accorded the right to ask your question, if you would, please.
Hi, I also want to say thank you for doing this today. It's really appreciated. My name is Holly Williams. I serve as Democratic Party precinct chair for 329 in the state of Texas. I apologize for doing this, not just a question, as someone who's been on the receiving end of phone calls. Young people do not know how to do collect calls. Might want to offer that
question to you, Congressman. Does the Congress have the authority to intervene to safeguard our law firms to carry on their constitutional rights and duties to represent the citizens and their rights? Our Constitution. What can you do to stop this anarchism for the law firm to represent people properly to exercise their rights?
Well, thank you. You may claim your seat, please. We will do all that we can, and here's what we can do. We can pass resolutions indicating that these actions taken by the president are unacceptable. It seems to me, and pardon me for using the language that I'm about to use, it won't be profane. I never use profanity. Because I never use it doesn't mean that I don't think it. But I never use profanity. What the president is doing is very near and dear to the hearts of people who hijack. He's almost hijacking these firms. He's threatening them. I've never in my life would I have thought that the President of the United States would threaten a law firm because of the way it represents its clients. That is unacceptable. And I think we as members of Congress have to have the courage to say it. We have to have the courage to speak up, stand up and speak out and let the people know that we don't agree with what the president's doing. So we can disagree, but ultimately, it's the court that will check the president. The courts in this country have the right to determine what the law is. And one court has indicated that there are at least 3 aspects of the Constitution that are being violated by the president's actions as they relate to these law firms. And we hope that the courts will continue to give their announcements, and if the president doesn't agree, he can't impeach the judges. He should appeal the cases. I don't think there's a Congress right now that would agree with his impeachment judge because of a decision made. Finally, if the president decides that he is going to disobey court orders, the second he does that and decides, I will not obey a court order, he becomes a dictator. We then have a dictatorship. The better thing for us to do is prevent this from occurring rather than having to reclaim our country from a dictator. If the Congress can't stop him and that he won't abide by court orders, then that means we have but one thing left. I wear this necktie for that purpose. We the people will have the last word. We have the right to protest peacefully. But when a president or anyone else in this country sees throngs of people indicating that they believe that transgressions are taking place that have to be addressed in an appropriate, lawful way, it makes a difference. It made a difference for the veterans who came to Washington to protest. It made a difference for the farmers who came to Washington to protest. It made a difference for Dr. King when he had his protest and he gave his I Have a Dream speech. So we the people will have to raise our voices, and it is not unlawful to peacefully protest unless you do as John Lewis said, get in the way, and then you have to be prepared for the consequences. So I thank you for the question, sir. And we'll go to number 2 now. Yes, number 2, please. 3, excuse me, number 3.
Buenos Aires, la prensa de Nicaragua, journalists, in less than a month, the humanitarian parole is going to end. And specifically, Nicaragua is going to be more than 60,000 of them that without immigration status. Also, the Venezuela, Cuba. So, what's the word from this panel about the situation of these people?
We can both help with that one. So it's very unfortunate. People who came in legally to the United States with a humanitarian form. This one? Yes, the question is what's going to happen now that the humanitarian parole was revoked for Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, Cubans, and Haitians. So now the most important thing is for everybody who is in that situation to seek relief, to talk to an immigration lawyer if you have not done it yet. And most of them, most qualify for an asylum. You need to apply for the asylum. And maybe any other reliefs, there are special visas, maybe they got married to a resident or a citizen, but this is the time to apply for a relief, because if not, they will be subject to deportation. And if, like Attorney Means was speaking earlier, if you've been here for less than 2 years, you're subject to expedited removal. And that's the one that is very scary, because most of the humanitarian parole recipients have been here in the US for less than 2 years. So they can be removed without due process, without the right to see a judge. So it's very important right now to seek you need to apply for relief. Go to an immigration attorney, go to any of the organizations like FIEL and ask for information. That's my advice, to ask, what can I do now that I may be unprotected and subject to deportation? Sylvia, do you want to add anything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to, am I number 4?
My name is Bina Gobea. So my question is, we're having a lot of lawyer rights sessions, and I try to be at one. I thank Caesar for having that opportunity for every side of the communities that we have in Texas. But my question is, what is Congress doing to work with the school districts? So yesterday in the news, we saw that we took away truancy, right? Truancy we've been working truancy a different way. But now they're pushing for truancy to come back. Our kids are not showing up to school because of their immigrant status. So what are we doing to get into the schools and have no rights?
We're trying our very, very best to get into the schools for that purpose. As you know, Congress people are not school board members. And while I defer to them, I still believe that in these very trying times, these very difficult times, that we too should make efforts. So we're trying to now put together a Know Your Rights event on the campus of one of our schools, at least one. But I'd like to put it at multiple schools, and I think it's a great question, and believe me, it's not one that has escaped us. Children, believe it or not, are very much concerned too. These children are knowing that parents have been taken away to curb things, and so we want to help them to understand what's going on as well. I thank you for that question, and you have my assurance that we will be working with, we have 2 school districts, working with them to get into those schools. Thank you very much for that. Number 5, please. I'm asking Cesar to say just a word on that issue.
So just quickly on the school thing too, it's important for you to talk to parents, make sure that we assure them and to provide that the Know Your Rights in anything so that they can make sure that their kids are safe at school. Now on the other side of the spectrum, we also have to keep an eye on what the state legislatures do, because there is a growing movement, and it already started happening in Tennessee, where they're trying to ban undocumented kids or immigrant kids from going to public school. So that's something that we have to be prepared to challenge in the courts and things like that, because they are trying to do that movement. But I think we encourage everybody to go to school, no matter what, because that's still a safe place. And we have been working with districts to make sure that they have a plan in place. So if immigration shows up, they know that it's against federal law to allow them to question any students because of FERPA laws and things like that.
Next, please.
So I have a question. I'm a naturalized citizen, and I want to get mobilized. I want to help out and help the community, know their rights, get out there, protest, make our voice heard that a majority and a large portion is becoming illegal because of the rules are changing on them. They might have been entered legally, but when the floor moves, you become illegal. But if we extend that as natural citizens versus born citizens, you are afraid of getting singled out and you could potentially disappear. What can we do to protect us if we're out there protesting?
Thank you very much. You might recall I said earlier, and this always bears repeating, everybody has the right to protest, but I have to warn you and admonish you to know that sometimes there are consequences. It can be if you're a congressperson protesting while the president is giving his address before the Congress, then you can be removed, and then you can be censured, but they can't silence you. So you can still speak up. My point to you is, I don't want to see people detained or disappeared as the term is being used now. But if that happens, you've got to be prepared for that. So I tell people, if you think that there's some possibility that you might be taken into custody, let your friends know that they should hear from you on a daily basis or at some point in time, so that they'll know to start looking for you. And if you have children, Cesar's mentioned it, and I'm mentioning it again, you have to make arrangements for your children to be taken care of. I don't like having to say this, but I know that right now we're not in a position to stop what the president is doing, but we are in a position to speak up and stand against it, and we're doing that. I'm going to do that. And one of the ways that I will do that is to bring articles of impeachment against the president. I'm going to bring articles of impeachment against the president. And there are people who say, well, you're not going to pass them. Well, at least we'll know who is voting not to impeach a president who ought to be impeached. And at that point, we will know that as citizens, we have rights to vote, and we will know how to exercise our right to vote. These are things that can be done. This is a thing that I will do. The president is a Goliath. He is. He is exercising powers that he should, and he's exceeding his authority in certain cases. But remember this, for every Goliath, there's a David. Yes, of course.
I just wanted to say hello, and as organizers who feel compelled to protest, in this day, we have to accept we may be subject to removal. It's just something that you have to embrace, okay? Because if you don't, then they win, right? What is that? Pre-bowing down, or I can't remember the word, but you have to stand up. You are shaken enough to stand up and speak in this. That means you have conviction. You have to stand up. And you have to be willing to accept that, okay, when I learned, personal story, when I learned in the 4th grade about slavery, I couldn't understand how that could possibly happen. And that has brought me to this moment where I said, if that ever happened, obviously this one's happening, but something like that ever happened, I'm not going to just stand by and let injustice happen. I will activate. And if you don't, and you're not willing to accept what happens, like being removed, or what may happen to me, or anybody else who joins this type of work, which you face every day, you have to be prepared to accept that that's what may happen. Because the alternative is that you lay down and let it go by passively, and that's, quite frankly, unacceptable.
Okay, I have to jump in because this is something that I'm living every single day. Like I said, I'm still an LPR, and I fear. I'm in not fear, but I'm constantly thinking about this, and it's something that I say close to home. But I did want to point out that I believe, and that many of us believe, that this is the civil rights fight of our life right now. And during other civil rights movement, people didn't win by hiding or by just staying home or by marching. They marched across bridges. They got attacked. And we have the John Lewis's of the world, and we have the Al Greens of the world that stand up when you try to be silent. So for me, I'm going to be very vulnerable right now and tell you that I have embraced the fact that there could be consequences. But at the end of the day, they could try to take me away, but they're not going to take away our spirit. And our spirit is to fight for democracy and to fight for what is right.
Number 6.
Good morning, my name is Jacqueline Duffy-Mundy. Thank you, Congressman Green, for having this forum this morning. I was very excited when it came across my email. And the previous speakers just now gave great segue to my comment, and my question is, what happens when they come for you? And my thought is there is a lot of marginalized groups that are sitting by the wayside because they're not coming for you at the moment. Right now, they are attacking immigration, undocumented citizens. And I say citizens because they pay into and input into this economy that we all draw from, and they are not able to draw from it. And so what I say to other marginalized groups, and my question is what is being done in Congress to try to galvanize the other marginalized groups like me, a black woman, veterans, sex workers, the LGBTQ+, because if we do not get together now as they are attacking one of the marginalized groups, one group is going to be standing alone by themselves at the end, because they will attack us one by one, trying to create this dictatorship that Congressman Al Green just spoke of. Because as a veteran, I am a veteran. And so we all know right now it's too early in the fight to attack a group that has such patriotic thoughts and such a strong allies in the country. But what they're doing now is they're attacking one group, but they are still taking away things from veterans. So I even say to veterans as a marginalized group, don't look at the immigration laws as if it doesn't affect you, because it does. We have to galvanize together as marginalized groups to push against those that are in power and are creating things to be even more oppressive for us. And so what is being done on a large scale from Congress to get these groups that are marginalized together to realize that dictatorship is what is driving this train.
Thank you. We are currently, and I am more specifically, talking to leaders and encouraging exactly what you just said. We have to understand that we cannot silo these issues. These issues have to be addressed by all of us because they ultimately impact all of us. So we can't silo the issues. Here's an example. Just a few days ago, I was out at NASA, and I was speaking with persons who lost their jobs or are losing their jobs at NASA. That same day, I spoke to persons with the Postal Union. There's an effort now to privatize the Postal Service. We cannot allow that to happen. DOJ, the organization that Mr. Musk is working with, is trying as best as he can to privatize as much as he can, it seems to me. Well, DOJ didn't create the Postal Service. The Congress did. And Congress will take a stand, I believe, to protect the social service because it's in the Constitution. We have to protect it and not allow it to be privatized. But I've also spoken to senior citizens who are concerned about their Social Security. There's an effort, it seems, to privatize Social Security, so we can encourage them to join in. All of us have a role to play. I spoke to the President himself at the joint session of Congress about Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. There were consequences, but I told you, you have to be prepared if you do this to suffer those consequences. You don't have to like it, you can fight it, but you still have to be prepared. So I am encouraging people to do exactly what you just said. Other members of Congress are doing it. They're having large-scale meetings around the country and encouraging people to get involved. Don't allow the other person's problem to be siloed. Let that problem become your problem, because when it does, we will resolve that problem together. I guarantee you, we can have unity without uniformity, and we can make a difference in the lives of people in our country. Let's do it together. Number 7.
Good morning, Congressman. My question is in 2 parts. One is an appreciation, and then it's in the question 4. My appreciation is for you, because I am just so thankful that we have individuals like yourself. I remember, and you probably recall it too, we were at Fountain of Praise for the precinct chair breakfast, and I asked you a question that day, Congressman. I said, what is Congress doing? I said, I remember that I saw you and John Lewis in the spirit of what John Lewis talked about, of getting in good trouble, and you and John Lewis, y'all didn't mind that. I said, well, why? It seems like that fight has dissipated or something. And then the next time I looked around, they were escorting you out of Congress. I said, now that's what I'm talking about. Now, I appreciate you for that fighting spirit, because that's what is talked about, getting in good trouble, that get it in the way, that you are disrupting this unlawful, this just doing whatever they want to do. But I just wanted to give you that appreciation. I thank you so much, and I'm just so pleased to stand with you and fight with you. I don't care who they put up against you to run against you. We got your back. We got your back. And my question is now that we look at individuals that are being immigrants, that are being stopped in traffic stops by constables, by law officers, local law officers, not Homeland Security individuals, for traffic violations. And these law officers are calling ICE agents on these individuals, for traffic violations. We call the traffic violations. They say, well, we have to call them because these are immigrants. And we also see that people that are neutralized citizens with green cards are being snatched up off the streets and just taken away, kidnapped, as we were from Africa. That's a whole other story. But, what is it, what recourse is there on the local level and on the federal level for individuals that are caught up in these kind of situations that they can use to kind of, fight back?
Thank you. And as we approach the 11 o'clock hour, I want persons who desire to get your passports or global entry to move over into the other area. I don't want to detain you because the line is forming over there as I speak. But with reference to your question, 2 points. The first is, and these are the words of Voltaire, who was a great writer, philosopher, and thinker, an intellectual. Voltaire reminds us that it is dangerous to be right, and I'm paraphrasing, it is dangerous to be right in affairs where established men are wrong. It is dangerous to be right in affairs where established men are wrong. We have an establishment that has gone to extremes, and it literally is dangerous for you to be right. But you have to take a stand for right. You cannot allow the possibility of your being somehow muted to prevent you from using your voice while you can. So I plan to do that. Other members of Congress are doing that. So we have to speak out, and we have to do it forcefully, and we have to let people know where we stand on these issues. Voltaire also reminded us that those who can cause you to believe absurd absurdity to say that you can disappear a person because of tattoos. We have to take a stand against that. That is just an abomination. But if we can make people believe that the tattoo that you have on your body merits your being disappeared, sent to another country, locked up in some sort of supermax prison, with no date of when you would be released, this is some sort of incarceration that has an unlimited amount of time. There's no expiration date associated with it as far as I can see. So we cannot allow ourselves to believe these absurdities. This is an absurdity. There are other absurdities that are being pushed. And when these things are said, we have to stand up and speak out against them. Do not be afraid to speak up. But understand that if you get in the way, there may be consequences. And I promise you that we will do all that we can to make sure that people know what the absurdity is. It is an absurdity to say Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. That's an absurdity. This is your investment. It is only an entitlement because you've invested in it. That's an absurdity. So we have to say it. And notwithstanding what others are saying, make sure our voice is heard as well. It is also an absurdity for a president to indicate that he will not follow a court order, and for some people to believe, literally now, believe that the president has a right to disobey court orders. But you know, maybe we're expecting too much from a person who has been twice impeached and 34 times convicted.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Admin. It's always refreshing to attend one of your events. We have heard words about law and order, justice and fairness, and in my humble opinion, law and order is a little bit different than fairness and justice. Having said that, your quotation from Voltaire is an excellent segue to my question. I don't believe the current occupant of the White House can do what it's doing without his enablers. And we have the richest man in the world and SCOTUS giving him absolute immunity. What else is left for us to rely on for justice, not law, but justice? And so this is addressed to you specifically.
It is an absurdity to believe that a president who does these things should not be impeached. We cannot allow people to convince us that this can go on without our taking the one action that we can take to stop him. It can act as a deterrent, or it can act as a means of removal. But we have to use the impeachment authority that Congress has, and every member of Congress has the right to bring articles of impeachment. I have said it before, I will say it again. I plan to bring articles of impeachment against Donald John Trump, President of the United States of America. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn English. I'm a retired occupational health nurse with the Postal Service. I have listened to all that was being said, and it's all very helpful and appreciative. But the one thing that I do have to say on my own part is that when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. And there's too many people voting that don't understand what they're voting for or about, and I think that they should at least try to find out all the facts on both sides on whatever party they choose to be in before everybody go out and start voting for something, and then we end up in a situation like we are now. Okay, so my last thing I'm going to say about that is you can't wait for other people, the Congress, you, and all the people on that stage to do for us what we need to get up and do. We went out and voted, and we didn't get what we wanted, but now we got to stand firm together, like has been said before, and do what we need to do to get this overturned. My question is, that said that our state is less volatile, and that's why people are moving question is, when ICE or other people are approaching you or whatever, and you don't use force or you don't say anything or anything like that, but then they steady increase their viciousness towards you or whatever, what do you do about that? And you know, the courts are, they're saying for us to stand up and everything, but the court has always been the need to Donald Trump. So that doesn't give you very much comfort when you got to go to court and you already know he's going to prolong and extend and then get the people that he's put in place already to be against what you are about. And my last thing is about the medical, about the insurance, Medicare and everything. They have formularies and stuff that they have drugs on. They're trying to decrease the drugs, the prices of them and everything like that. But as soon as you get a drug that is decreased, they change the formulary and then tell you you have to buy this over the counter, and the over the counter is 3 times as high as you was paying when it was covered.
May I just do this? I've been informed that we have the room for a limited amount of time. So would you really make sure that we answer your question? Yours will be answered. And others of you, if you reduce your questions to writing, we will assist you with it. And we'll make sure that we get answers to you as well. But I am under contract to surrender the room. I'm sorry. And we tried as best as we could to move expeditiously. So, Attorney Vance, if you will, you want to address the question?
Yes, so you have to remember that even if they detain you for speaking up, if you are a naturalized citizen, it's very hard for them to remove your citizenship. And the only one that can deal with that is an immigration judge, and then you can still appeal to the district court on the federal level. And we have to remember that the courts are actually applying the law and interpreting the law as it's supposed to be. Now, if you are protesting and they detain you, you have, of course, the right to remain silent. If they are charging you with a criminal matter, you have the right to an attorney and no cost to you. If they just take you to immigration, then you need to have an attorney and go through the process that I mentioned before about getting out on bond. But don't dismay and believe that actually the judiciary or the courts are doing what they can to enforce the law.
Thank you very much. Friends, thank you all for being here. There are some of you who did not get your questions answered. I will visit with you and talk to you about your question in just a moment, but we have to surrender the room now. So if you would kindly exit from the room. Those of you who still would like to ask me a question, if you'll be so kind as to just step outside of this room, I will answer your question as best as I can. But give our panelists, if you would, a big expression of appreciation. Thank you so much for what you've done, and thank you one and all for being here. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.